And the Bengals on CBS, where a sack record is just one away. Myles Garrett needs it to get to T. Higgins. If only it mattered. The Bengals, the what-if team of the half-decade. 14-12 at the half after Jamar Chase for but one more time this season. Bengals up 18-17 after an unsuccessful 48th time Burrow and Chase have connected for a touchdown. Next Browns drive, Shedeur, how about a moment? Lead a drive, end the season with a win. Finds one over the middle of the field. It's Jerry Jeudy, and we're into field goal range. Andre Schmidt can play hero at the horn of the season.
There's a flag, though.
Yeah.
Looked like some leveraging over the middle. Declined. Cleveland wins, and they get the record. Myles to 18.
Myles, I know you're all about team first, so let's just talk about this victory. How proud are you of both sides of the ball to get this one done?
It took everything. I mean, these guys fought all day. It was all 60 minutes. I mean, whenever we were slacking, offense came and picked it up, and then we did the same for them. And no, at the end of the day, special teams finished it off. That's all you can ask for, a team victory right here.
All right, let's talk about the big headline heading into this game. It was a record that held for nearly quarter of a century, and you just reset it today. I know you thought you could do it, but to prove you could do it, what were the emotions running through you as you got that sack?
I can't lie, I was nervous as hell. I had a dream last night that I didn't get it, and all the feelings that come with that. I woke up, I think I was sweating, and then I was like, there's no way I'm gonna let that be my destiny. So I was just fighting like hell to rewrite not only history, but I feel like my own destiny.
You talked about patience, and you needed every ounce of it. It came down to the last game of the season in the last quarter. The celebration, though, how were you able to stay within yourself, and then how meaningful was it to see everybody celebrate you the way they did?
I didn't know it was going to be like that. I'm just so happy to be with these guys. They make it a joy to show up every day at work. I've loved every second of this year, being able to work with guys like this, coaches like this, and it's honestly been a real pleasure. The celebration, honestly, I was just giving glory to the Most High. It was just it's always an honor and privilege to be out here. I never take it for granted, and I'm just very blessed.
I had a chance to spend time with your family before the game, and they said, we cannot wait to celebrate with our son. Your mom said, I still see him as 5-year-old Myles. It's pretty amazing to watch him make history. How special is it that they were in the stands today?
I can't wait to go and see them. Whenever I break from here, I'm going to jump up in the stands because, they've supported me every step of the way. I'm just so blessed and fortunate to have them, my siblings here, and God, it's just amazing to have this kind of moment, have it in a win, and end up being the king of the jungle.
Celebrate this one. It was fun to watch. Thank you, Myles.
Thank you.
I never got this far in my dreams. Where the playoffs? But still not the reality for Myles Garrett. I will not make light of what he did achieve here. 23 sacks in a season for the first time. Well, the second time if you ask Jared Allen, but that's a different conversation for a different day, as Garrett is your new sack king. Back in studio with the fellas to examine some of what this means, because many asked, what was out there for Myles Garrett in the immediate future when he signed that deal with the Cleveland Browns, knowing that he wasn't signing that deal with what looked to be a perennial contender? A bit of individual history for him here, Mac, but I'm still struggling with what this means in this moment.
It means all for Myles Garrett in terms of his individual career thus far. I think if you were to ask any football fan, Myles Garrett is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And what he accomplished today just adds more to his prolific resume. And in a moment for Cleveland, when you look at their entire season, they have not had a lot to cheer about. This was their moment as well.
This was the high.
This was their high. A 5-win season, 5-12. You've been out of the playoffs for the last few weeks. Not a lot going on. But Myles Garrett provided the sense of excitement for the organization, and the same can be said for the entire city because they've been in a bad spot for quite some time. And hopefully, to your point about moving forward for this organization, as long as they have Myles Garrett in the fold, their defense will always be more than a serviceable unit. They will always have that pedigree of potentially being at high level. Now it's about adding some more fuel to the fire on the offensive end. And most importantly, I know, JJ, you hit on getting the quarterback situation right, having the structure around those players, because I can tell you this much, even though they only won 5 games, they have some nice young core pieces to build around. Quinshon Judkins, he is RB1. Harold Fannin, the potential. We've seen what he's done. You know what I mean? Adding some more protection on the offensive line.
Carson Schlesinger is going to be defensive rookie of the year.
Yes. So they did a great job this past draft, in my opinion, in hitting. But we felt like this would be a rebuild year, and currently they're in the midst of a rebuild. Now it's about adding to that structure.
Yeah, this means this is a big-time accomplishment for Myles Garrett because as players, you play the game for individual accolades, but obviously you play as a team. But when you're able to get an achievement like this, to be able to be at the top of the mountain, have the only name up there, that means the world to him. So this is something that's going to already add on to his Hall of Fame career. But on what you be, Mac, now it's on the Cleveland Browns to add pieces not only around him, but for their future quarterback, because they have yet to find a quarterback in God knows how long. They need some more pass catchers receiver-wise, because I think Fannin can be a tight end one. So they have guys, but now they have to do the finishing touches around the talent that they already have in the building.
Yeah, and we can get to Shedeur Sanders in a little bit, but they may believe that they do have QB1 already there with the Cleveland Browns. What this means for Myles Garrett, and I think that we all understand that he is the guy that when teams sit down on Mondays in a game week, they say we have to stop him. We game plan around him, right? That is just key and number one. So he is such an obvious difference maker and such an obvious defensive player of the year that it's even hard for me as a voter to come up with who's two, right? Because it's so far and away. But beyond that, what this means for building a culture in Cleveland, it meant so much to the Cleveland Browns that they were able to retain Myles Garrett, that they did not trade him, and they would have gotten a haul from Myles Garrett, at least 2 first-round picks, and then some, right? And I know that we've all joked, and I certainly took part in the jokes about, like, oh, you want to go win? Well, then he got $40 million per year, and it's okay about the wins because you got paid. There's no question about that. But if the Browns had traded Myles Garrett, and they had said, we're giving up the best defensive player by far in the NFL, what does that say to free agents to be about going to Cleveland?
Yeah.
What does that say to head coaches to be and the candidates that they're going to bring in, defensive coordinator candidates, about coming to Cleveland? So the fact they were able to retain him and paying him at a rate that now he's underpaid, right? Because guys went after $40 million, it went up to 45, it went up above that. So now he is actually a bargain in a number of senses. It means a lot to this Browns organization.
It was really cool to see that manifest in the way they celebrated this sack record and the moment of pause in this game, which was enjoyed by Cleveland, but not by all. Here's Zach Taylor post-game.
A long conversation with the officials after the Garrett sack. What was going on there? What were you
There's 5 minutes left in our season. We're playing for our lives here. And I was never told that we're going to stop the game. And in a critical moment like that, and the refs just said that they made a decision that they were going to stop the game, and they said they tried to do it as quickly as possible. I didn't feel that. We didn't sub. We're trying to be on the ball and go and play with tempo, and the umpire just held the ball so that we couldn't do anything. And I'm yelling at Joe, get on the ball. We didn't sub. We're going, and then we couldn't play. And so, again, trying to get an answer was not easy. They just said that they made a decision as a crew to stop the game when that happened. I guess it didn't matter when it happened. It just, they were going to stop the game.
I will point out, 0 playoff implication in this game. So playing for our lives, playing for our jobs maybe, but this wasn't Ricky Henderson going to second base. And this was 35 seconds of celebration for the new sack king.
Yeah, I will say in defense of Zach Taylor there, and I know it's going to sound like sour grapes, but I mean, he's coming off the battlefield, right? So he's going to be hot. And while maybe they weren't actually fighting for their lives, right, you do want to win. There's a reason that Joe Burrow, even without the playoffs out there, is still out there on the field. He does have a point that the refs could have told him pregame, hey, hope your quarterback stays clean. But if this is to take place, at some point, we are going to pause the game and allow for a celebration. I think that Zach Taylor or any opposing head coach would have been owed that heads up. Yeah. And so if that's his gripe, I know it sounds like he's just a sore loser, but that's a legitimate gripe in my mind.
All right, let's pivot back to what we did see in this matchup. And Shedeur Sanders, you alluded to the fact that Cleveland needs to either find the quarterback, identify the quarterback. It's going to be quarterback conundrum coming into camp once again. You've got $45 million of Deshaun Watson that will be coming off a twice-torn Achilles. You have a small sample size on Shedeur and on Dylan Gabriel, your 2 quarterbacks that were drafted a year ago, Pat P. You presented it, so I'll go to you here first. Who do you think should be leading that depth chart when we do come into camp?
Ah, man, that's an interesting question, but I believe it should be Shedeur.
Mm-hmm.
I really do, because he was never really given a fair shot coming into the season, and he has shown some progression throughout his time as a starting quarterback. It seemed to me that he gave that team some life. I believe the Deshaun Watson contract is something that's going to be an umbrella over this team.
It is what it is.
And it's not going to allow them to get better at other positions. So when you have two rookie quarterbacks under contract, you want to find a way to take advantage of that. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm probably leaning towards going into the season with Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, the right thing for them to do would be give the keys to Shedeur, allow him to have a full offseason operating as QB1, going into the training camp so he can be ready to put forth his best effort. But the Cleveland Brown thing, they will do, I believe they will hand the keys to Deshaun Watson. I think so. I think, because you made a good point, it's almost like his contract has handcuffed this organization and he has all the leverage. Now, will he remain QB1 throughout 2026? We have to wait and see. But I believe the right thing would be, Shedeur, you went through some ebbs and flows this year. It was expected. The entire team did. Yep. But now this is your job. Be prepared to lead us. Yep. But Cleveland will do the Cleveland thing. They're going to hand the keys over to Deshaun.
What they should do and what they will do are vastly different conversations, especially when we talk about Cleveland.
I do believe that the Cleveland Browns organization from the top believes that Shedeur Sanders will be the Week 1 starter. There is the Deshaun Watson deal and all that, but they also know that Deshaun Watson, even though he has to be there for 2026 because of the contract, that he clearly is not the future, and that they have invested a 3rd-round pick in Dillon Gabriel, a 5th-round pick in Shedeur Sanders, have them on their rookie deals. As you note, they didn't really get that fair shake. You know, they were splitting reps with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, who didn't stay there even by midway point of the season. So right now, it does appear like it's Shedeur Sanders. Now, is that going to attract a new head coach? Because they're going to let go of Kevin Stefanski. And what sort of caliber of coach are you going to get when you say, I already have your quarterback chosen, and he's the guy who has the lowest passer rating out of all qualified passers this past season. It's the guy who holds on to the football too long. Yeah. It's the guy with 10 interceptions to 7 touchdowns this past season. So that's going to be a problem for the Cleveland Browns in their interview process. I'll also say this. They have 2 first-round picks. They have Jacksonville's pick from the Travis Hunter trade. They're going to be picking somewhere in that 5 to 7 range, depending on how these afternoon games play out. And